Hello, welcome to Footprint. My name is Samuel Attah-Mensah, and I'm here to do a continuation of an interesting conversation we started with the veteran journalist, Mr. Cameron Duodu. And that's what we are here to do today. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be zooming in straight to the gentleman of the moment. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Same here.
Wow. How old did you say you were again? Because
85.
I'm struggling.
I'm not frightened to say it.
85, man.
Take it as a blessing.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm struggling to reconcile, man. With your energy and you're so spirited in the conversation, and I'm like, okay, God has really blessed this man.
Thank you.
85, man. So that is Mr. Cameron Duodu. And I don't know if you were following the first episode. If you didn't, you can go on YouTube and look for it. But I think we got to where you had just left Ghana and started practicing outside. But this would be in the Kutua Champon era, is that correct?
No. Mm-hmm. I was in Ghana during the Champon's era.
Yeah, but I mean, you left during the Kutua Champon time.
No, I left in 1983.
Oh, you left Ghana in 83?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I had been earlier in Nkrumah's days.
You left and came back?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's look at me. I'm nowhere close to your age and I keep forgetting.
You haven't forgotten anything, but these details are so...
Yeah. So during the Kutua Champon time, which was from 13th January 1972
yes,
up until he was kicked off, what were you doing?
Freelance work.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that I had been dismissed as editor of the Daily Graphic
yeah,
during the NP Progress Party regime headed by Professor Busia. Mm-hmm. So I was doing freelance work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, during the time I was editor of the Daily Graphic, the government had tried very hard, with my support, to try and get Ghana's external creditors to relax their demands a bit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Professor Busia said, "Kafu Didi." Mm-hmm. That means, although we are in debt, our people must eat.
Stop, yeah.
And we were doing our best to get them to relent a bit. And they didn't until Professor Busia was forced to devalue the cedi. And that, of course, met with a lot of unpopularity. And the champion took advantage of that unpopularity to overthrow him.
Whoa, so it was in the midst of the devaluation
yes,
of the cedi
yes,
that gave room for the coup d'etat in 1972.
Well, the major excuse, of course, you never know what's
other things,
in the... Yes.
Right.
Now, when Champon came to power, he did something extremely strange. You know, we don't expect soldiers to have a good command of economics. Mm-hmm. But apparently he consulted some bankers and so on, and he decided that Ghana wasn't going to pay its debts until it was in a position to do that. Mm-hmm. This had never happened in any developing country, as far as I know.
India.
And the value, the courage was so important that, in fact, I made a radio broadcast, a commentary, saying, yes, India. Mm-hmm. Yes. I don't know whether it was I who coined the term, but definitely it was with my support. Mm-hmm. And
so the Kutua Champons almost became a slogan of Yentia, Yentia. This is the background.
Yes, and a lot of young people, all those who are anti-imperialist, who don't expect the World Bank and the IMF to work for us, but always against us, rather working for the rich nations. These people were pleased because
so his arrival was met with a high level of popularity. Is that
after
correct?
That policy statement. People don't understand it. They think it was just because he was a champion or something. No, that policy statement was historic.
Okay.
It hadn't happened, as far as I know, in any other developing country. And we knew we would suffer for it. But we had to make the point.
And he didn't pay?
Up to a point, yes.
Yeah.
And then 1 or 2 years later, the cocoa price was becoming good. So he was able to resume normal relations. Yes.
Right. So within the Champon period, were there any significant stories that you wrote?
Well, the economic story became the main story.
Okay.
I was then writing for the London Financial Times.
Oh, okay. You wrote for the Financial Times?
Yes.
Wow.
And so they were very interested in what was happening. And gradually, unfortunately, the pressures on the Champon to give in to demands for import licenses became such that he got a very bad reputation. You know, people thought if you were a pretty woman, you went to the castle and asked for an import license, you would get it. And they were insulting him with it.
So post Kutua Champon, then comes Akufu,
Yes.
and then Rawlings eventually.
Yes.
What were your own recollections of this 1979 coup d'etat?
I had traveled abroad. I came back on the 3rd of June. Whilst I was abroad, I had heard that Rawlings had attempted something and it had failed.
In May, right?
Yes, and he was going to be tried and most probably shot. And then on the morning of the 4th of June, I heard the jet fighters in the air. And I said, Rawlings is from the 4th Squadron. That's the jet squadron. And he's in jail. And the jets are flying. The government mad or something to allow these people free rein.
But at that
knowing
time,
that they had already...
Did you know Rawlings?
Yes.
You knew him before he became head of...
Yes, I did.
How so?
I had a lot of friends.
Common friends, like...
Yes. Because I was editor of the Daily Graphic.
Right.
People from the Air Force would come and tell me, our radar at the airport is not good enough. Would you do something about it? And so they were lobbying me to do things for them. So I had a lot of friends in the Air Force. And I knew Rawlings.
Right.
And I immediately thought I would get an interview from him. But it was very difficult to locate him. Eventually, he gave me a very, very good interview for the London Guardian newspaper.
Oh, this was after the 79
Yes.
one.
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
Well, he said that the system the armed forces had wasn't very fair to the other ranks, and that they should be more sympathetic to the plight of the other ranks. But I could see that he was really trying to make himself popular with the other ranks because that's where he saw the power.
I thought it was Junior Jesus.
Yeah, so placards, students were carrying placards saying Junior Jesus.
Interesting. And so after that, then 81 came.
Yes.
Did you have any encounter with President Hillel Lehman?
Yes. And he was a very good friend of mine.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
When he was at the Constitutional Commission, we used to exchange ideas quite a lot. And so I liked him and he liked me. But his military intelligence were arrogant, ignorant, and they were making enemies for him. They put a 24-hour surveillance on Rawlings and Kojo Chikata. 24 hours open. You know, they were just provoking them. These are very hardy military people. So as they were doing that, I tell you, I met one other rank, and he said, a newspaper called The Palaver.
Yeah, I remember.
Chris
Asher's
Yes.
Palaver, yeah.
He used very strong language, so I have to interpret it a bit. He said, when Rawlings goes to the loo, they want to know the color of the thing that comes out of it. What is this? The man had handed over power, and he still had such strong loyalties among the ranks that somebody is saying this to me. And because of the provocation, a lot of people still believed in Rawlings, although we had all applauded when he had handed over power after only a short while. So they provoked it. There is no two ways about it.
Who was in charge of military intelligence at the time?
Colonel Ano Ojija.
Ojija, yes. That was a popular name at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
You stepped beyond the bounds. You didn't serve Liman well at all.
So you think he didn't conduct himself or as an intelligence person in the manner which he
That is my opinion.
Okay,
but of course, I don't know what. You see, there are two methods of dealing with potential subversion. Either you crack down hard or you watch them and wait until they actually try to do something concrete. Then you grab them. He said preventive surveillance was his method, and that's what he used. And
so they'll follow Rawlings physically with a vehicle?
Not only that, the Daily Graphic, then edited by Elizabeth Ohene, actually published a report based on what they had seen themselves. I think they even photographed the military intelligence car that was following Chikata. It wasn't necessary. And they made these people very desperate.
Okay.
And they hit.
Eventually they came back.
It was at Paul Liman that they hit.
Yeah. So were you sad that Liman was overthrown at the time?
Well, we had a democratic setup. And I tell you that no matter how bad a democratic setup is, it's almost always better than a military regime. Because the military don't talk. We here can sit down and take a decision and implement it. And before anybody knows whether it's, what effect it was going to have.
A lot of the young people don't understand what it means to be under a military.
They don't understand. They don't know. We sit down, we
they
take a
actually believe
decision.
that you can hold demonstrations and all that under military. You'll be gone before you...
Because before you know it, it has happened.
Yeah.
And you have no arms. They have arms. They can, put their foot down and do what they want. So it was sad. And I had been a member of the Constituent Assembly that brought out the Constitution, which...
In 79?
Yes.
Okay.
The one that Liman was operating.
Yeah.
And
also, you're a member of that Constituent Assembly?
Yes, I was responsible for the Media Commission section and all those things. Yes. So we had a lot of hope that Ghana would be democratic, and then the whole thing went awry again.
Wow. So 81, where were you when the coup happened?
I was in Accra. Yes.
And how did you take the news?
Well, I was sad. I knew that because of what Ojija and co were doing, something like that might happen. So I wasn't too surprised. I mean, as a journalist, you have to face facts. And what they were doing was, driving these people...
Yeah, overboard.
Yeah. And as soon as it happened, of course, I became a journalist. I forgot all about the politics. So I wanted the exclusive interview with Rawlings, and I got it. I published it in a newspaper called The Statesman, and the title was
The
Jerry Rawlings.
UK Statesman?
No.
Okay.
The Jerry Rawlings story. In the UK, I published it in The Guardian.
Okay. You mean The Statesman here in Ghana?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Right.
It was owned by Moses Dankwa, the old journalist.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Good. So now Rawlings takes over 81, and then you also practiced for a while before leaving Ghana, right?
Yes, I practiced right up to 1983. But I was then, I had moved around so much. I was then the BBC correspondent in Accra.
Yeah.
And the three judges were murdered.
Yes.
Big sensational
We'll talk
story.
about that.
Yes.
Which one came first? The deportation of Ghanaians from Nigeria. You covered that story?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that must be 83, right? 82,
80.
83. 1980?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, no.
That was
82.
82, 83.
Yes,
yeah.
that's right. I was thinking of our expulsion of the Nigerians.
Yeah.
That was
that was 70 something.
79, yeah.
Yeah. 70,
69.
69, 70, thereabouts,
Yes,
yeah. So tell me, how was it like when Ghanaians were deported from Nigeria? How did you cover that?
It was terrible. I was then writing for the London Observer. So I went straight to
The harbour?
Yes. And, covered it. Some people were dying in accidents on the way here. People were stopped from entering their own country. Ghana's borders were closed at Lome. So leave Nigeria past through.
That's on the Lome side?
Yes.
Into Ghana?
Yes. They weren't allowing them.
Whew.
It was horrible.
And I mean, people stood on the boats from Lagos?
Yes.
Stood from Lagos to Ghana?
And you come past Benin to the Togo border and they won't let you go. They were sleeping on the beaches. People were giving birth. Women were giving birth on the beaches.
I mean, it's a side of the story we never heard.
I was reporting it for the BBC.
So people were stuck on the beaches because that was the only outlet.
Absolutely.
And people died in transit.
Yes. It was terrible.
And you are saying people were also delivering babies in the process.
Indeed. Feel. It's not that anybody told me. I saw on the beach that this was happening.
So you had to travel to some of these countries?
Oh, I always go to the spot if I can.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you went to Benin or Togo?
No, just Togo.
You went to Togo?
Yes.
And you saw Ghanaians?
Yes.
And we're told that some of them, they were dropped off in Togo, had to walk many miles into Ghana.
You couldn't, sir, you've paid your transport fare to come to Ghana. The truck bringing you reaches Lome, and the Ghanaian said, no, you can't come in. So
is it the Ghanaians or the
Ghanaians? The Ghana regime was doing that because they were afraid that Nigeria would intervene. They had shot some very important generals here, former heads of state and so on. So they were afraid that the military regime in Nigeria,
who was that?
General Obasanjo.
Obasanjo at the time?
Yes, that Obasanjo might want to intervene.
Yeah.
And therefore, they shouldn't make it easy for people to come from Nigeria to Ghana. And it affected the Ghanaians. And it was very sad.
Wow. But
that's why I say that military rule is extremely dangerous.
What do you think? Because you're a journalist and at a high level, what do you think the expulsion of Ghanaians from Nigeria was purely for economic reasons?
No. Obasanjo actually wanted to make it difficult for them because they were all young officers and other ranks.
He wanted to teach them a lesson.
He was a general.
Yeah.
And he wanted to teach them. Yes, that's true.
Wow. So that must have quickened the whole expulsion thing. Because that was just so inhumane, man.
But you can't say that the Nigerians were not retaliating for what we had done to them in 1969.
Yeah, the 69 too was bad.
Absolutely.
So they were also asked to leave Ghana?
Yes.
Only Nigerians?
Well, aliens. But the Nigerians were the most numerous.
Yeah.
And I was so hurt by the idea that Africans were expelling Africans from their country that I went to the Prime Minister, Dr. Busia, and interviewed him. And I put it to him, look, this is not a very good thing to do. And he said, well, we have economic problems and this, blah, blah, blah.
So that was done, spearheaded by Dr. Busia?
Yes.
Not the parliament, but the president, the prime minister himself?
Yes.
All right, so tit for tat. C'est la vie. Okay, so I'm speaking with Mr. Cameron Duodu, a veteran journalist. He was there when it happened. He has not only seen, he has written about all the episodes that we are talking about. We'll take a short break. When we come back, he also had some sojourn into other parts of Africa, and he'll be talking about it. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Footprint, and I have Cameron Duodu here. And for those of you who, you can Google his name, and Charlie, you have loads and loads of material to read about him. And some of the articles, he still writes for articles in a daily, he has a column in Daily Guide and in the Ghanaian Times as well. I mean, very, very, very well written. So, you know, talking about Nigeria, somehow you covered the is it famous or infamous Umaru Dikko issue?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
For which media outlet?
The London Observer.
The Observer. Okay. Can you recount the whole Umaru Dikko and listen carefully?
I was in London, and if you are a freelance in London, you really must work.
Yeah, to earn your keep.
Yes, it's very difficult. It's not my terrain. I'm African, operating in a foreign field. I had good contacts with some of these papers whilst I was editor of Drum. So it wasn't too difficult. But when a story broke, like a coup in Nigeria, everybody is into it because Nigeria is very important.
Very, very, very key.
A major oil producing country, huge country, member of the Commonwealth. Everybody was interested. So we were all very anxious to get the story. And I used my contacts to get pieces here, pieces here. So then one day, I am a very, very curious person. So in London, I didn't wait for news to come.
Of course.
I go to news agents, and West Africa magazine used to come out on Friday afternoons. So by 3 o'clock, I had got my copy already before it be delivered to the other correspondents. And then I saw a story in the New York International Herald Tribune saying that Dr. Umaru Dikko, who was then the most wanted person in Nigeria because he was very close to Alhaji Shagari, the president, yes. Mm-hmm. So they thought if they could get Dikko, they would know how to deal with the regime. And he managed to escape. And he surfaced in America. So I said, Dikko is in America, how can I get hold of him? Because if I get him, I'll get the story. And I worked, and got onto the correspondent who had written that story in the International Herald Tribune. Mm-hmm. And he gave me a number.
Is that newspaper still around?
No, it's gone.
Yeah, because I haven't seen that in a long time.
But it was a major. Yes.
Yeah.
For foreign news.
Yeah.
So I got hold of this correspondent and I said, I want to.
In the US, you mean?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he gave me a number. And I thought, the man doesn't know me. Maybe he knows my name because of Drum, because of other things that I've done. But for him to, talk to a Ghanaian, especially because of our relationship. But he called back.
So Umaru Dikko called you back?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he spoke to me. Mm-hmm. He was very, very outspoken. And journalists like that, exclusive. So I had big space in the London Observer. Nigeria's most wanted man declares war. And they published it. Mm-hmm. Then he came to London.
So he left the US and came to London.
Yes.
So at this time, who had taken over from Shagari?
Muhammad Buhari, the current Nigerian president.
Buhari with Tunde Idiagbon.
Idiagbon, yes.
Mm-hmm.
They were
yes.
generals. And they had a very tough regime.
I tell you, I mean, that Idiagbon, even remembering his picture scares me. Jesus Christ, man.
Yes. They jailed journalists for merely reporting that certain people had been appointed ambassadors. Can you imagine? Merely a small thing like that.
I remember, you know, as young people, we used to follow this, and they used to say in Nigeria that the whole period that they were in power, Idiagbon smiled only once, and that was when the wife delivered, and not laugh, smile, and that was it.
Well, you were in Liberia at the time.
Nigeria.
Oh, you were actually?
Oh, yes. Okay. In Nigeria, in Ilorin, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used to follow these things. Yeah.
Yes. So after I had published this, the Nigerians were extremely angry, and they got in touch with Israeli intelligence.
Ooh.
And the Israelis gave them some intelligence people, and they brought them to London.
So the publication which you did for the Guardian newspaper of London,
the London Observer,
gave rise to this reaction from the Nigerian government.
Part of it.
Yeah, of course, among others.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, because...
Yeah, of course, but if he declares war against them, and this is what you're saying, then, yeah.
And when the Israelis came to London, they used my article to try and locate him. And they came to me and pretended that they were a television crew who were doing a story about Nigeria.
Are you serious?
I'm telling you. Not knowing that they were...
No. Let me... I want this part. I want to enjoy this part well. So the whole Umar Diko thing...
Yes.
You were in the middle of it.
Absolutely. I was picked up by London Special Branch. Yes, because I had gone to see these people. They are doing a TV program. They need me for their research.
Yeah.
And we're discussing it.
Yeah.
I didn't have the slightest suspicion.
Of course. That's Israeli intelligence.
Yes. And I went to the hotel.
Which hotel, you remember? Is it Central London? Or
yes. Somewhere in Kensington. I can't remember.
Right.
My name was there, that I had visited these people. So when they put Diko in the aircraft...
No, I think the whole thing is that people don't know the story. So if you can recount exactly what happened. So Diko now lives in London.
Yes.
And then the Israeli intelligence started working, and with the ultimate objective of carrying him physically, forcing him into Nigeria. Is that correct? And
they succeeded.
No, you mean they succeeded in capturing him and caging him?
And taking him to the airport.
As a cargo.
As diplomatic cargo. Well, they made a mistake. Instead of writing diplomatic cargo, they wrote diplomatic baggage. And apparently they have the terms that they used.
Yeah.
So the people at the airport suspected that there might be something wrong. But also, when they caught him in West London, Diko's secretary had seen them. So she had alerted Scotland Yard. And they had put out an alert to say that be careful at all airports.
Oh, okay. So when he was captured,
yes,
the secretary noticed something was wrong. So
she actually saw it happening.
Oh, okay. So reported to the police then?
Yes.
So police were on the lookout?
Yes.
And then they put... so what, they injected him or something?
They had an anesthetist in the cage with him. Yes. And he was monitoring his breathing and so on. And when they brought the cage to the dispatch area to try and put it into the cargo section. The customs people smelled something.
Yeah.
And the alert being on, and of course, British police,
Oh, of course, very efficient.
Very efficient. So they didn't allow the crate to go. And they got authority that in spite of it coming from Nigerian diplomatic sources, they should open it. They opened it and there was
a human being inside.
Yes, 2 of them. So they grabbed the...
so the
they grabbed him and
was prepared to risk his life.
Yes.
And be used as cargo to Nigeria.
Yes. I don't know what was in it for them, but of course...
And he is also Israeli?
Yes.
So what happened to him?
I think he got 10 or 14 years.
In the UK?
In the UK, yes. But so far as I'm concerned, as soon as they left the hotel, and the British traced them to the hotel and found that I was one of the visitors, they thought I was part of the plot, conspiracy.
So they almost came after you?
They came at about 2 a.m. and the terrorist squad. I was living at Clapham, Clapham.
Whew.
Yes. And they picked me up.
But that was dangerous. Clapham at the time had all sorts of trees and quiet spaces.
So they went and locked me up for the night.
Oh.
Yeah, I spent 24 hours in. Journalism is not a joke. I mean proper journalism, There is a man who has sources, who can locate a person that...
look, if any Nigerian journalist is watching this, you should be interviewing this man, because the Umaru Dikko story was a huge story.
Yes. Then they interviewed me, and they even suggested that maybe I was in with the Israelis because of what the Nigerian government had done to Ghanaians.
Oh, okay.
And I said to them, listen, Dikko is one person, one minister. This is a government decision. I cannot blame him for a whole government's decision. Not only that, but I am a refugee in your country. Why would I go and betray another refugee?
So did you have to go to court?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Oh, well, the story was so empty, Me getting involved in a conspiracy to kidnap somebody. No way.
So then you were
after they realized that I wasn't involved. That was the end of it. Yes.
And what happened to Dikko? He was returned to the UK.
He was hospitalized for a long time, and then I didn't pursue him.
Of course.
So I don't know what happened.
That was a major issue.
Yes.
Major issue in Nigeria. Wow. So apart from this, you also covered a few stories in other African countries.
I went to Liberia.
Liberia?
I was at Barclay Training Center when they shot those people.
In
those coup.
Yeah.
Samuel Doe's coup.
Samuel Doe's coup?
Yes, I was there.
Okay, that's his coup against Talbot.
Yes.
Tell me about it, man.
Because of the 79 incident again.
Yeah.
When I heard that these other ranks in Liberia had also overthrown their government, we got to put 2 and 2 together. Is there a movement in Africa of other ranks trying to get rid of the
officers? Yeah.
Yes. So I went there, and I saw Doe. I heard him at a press conference.
This is when he had just become head of state.
Yes.
Good.
And then
after overthrowing Talbot,
and killing him.
And he killed Talbot too.
They killed Talbot, yes. And about 5 or 6 ministers, top ministers. So I had to report that at that time. By that time, I was writing for the London Sunday Times. Put it on the front page. So I had, began to make a name for
And you're
myself.
living in Monrovia.
No. I came there to come at the store.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whilst you're there, you're in Monrovia.
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I reported that as well. But the one that nearly cost me my life was Gambia.
Mm-hmm.
So Dawda Jawara, the Prime Minister, went to England to witness the marriage of Prince Charles and Lady Diana.
Yeah.
Whilst he was there was a revolt in his field force, as they called it. That is his army. Mm-hmm. And they kidnapped his wife, whom he had left behind. So, major story. What are they going to do to Jawara's wife? Will it succeed or not? And I got a cable. Go to Banjul. From here to Banjul, flights are few and in between.
Oh, yeah. It was non-existent, man.
So I had to pick a flight to Dakar.
Yeah.
Then I had to go to the beach, the Gambia River bank, to look for a boat to take me across into Banjul. There was a curfew in Banjul because of the...
Yeah, the uprising, yeah.
Yes. Not only that, the boat, I negotiated with the boat owner, and he said, yes, they would take me across, and this is how much I should pay. I paid. I asked them to please tell Senegalese customs that I was going to Banjul, and that I might reach there late, because this time it was getting late. There was a 6 p.m. curfew in Banjul. I didn't know. When I went into the boat, a boy of about 12 was the one piloting
Boat pilot.
12-year-old. Oh, he went. We are going about 100 yards, 200 yards. The engine conked out. And the boat was being carried towards the deeper area.
By the tide.
Yes. No power. Quickly, the boy would... Then, luckily, it came back to life. So he took me to the beach in Banjul. As soon as I took out my suitcase and got onto the sand,
He left you there?
Yes. I didn't know anybody. I didn't speak the language.
I didn't know your bearings. You didn't know where to go.
No. And I had this suitcase. And what was worse was this, that some of the members of the mutineers group had been looting arms from the armory and carrying it on their heads to wherever they were hiding. Mm-hmm. And then was I carrying a suitcase at curfew time alone on the beach. I had stop! So I stopped. And people came from, I don't know where they had from.
Yeah.
Put your load down, put it down. Who are you? I said, I'm a journalist. I even sent a message to your people that I was coming. He said, we didn't receive any message. Open the box. Opened it. They looked through. No arms, nothing. He said, you are very, very lucky. We have orders to shoot curfew breakers on sight.
Wow.
And he said, you see that light over there? I said, yeah. He said, there's a hotel there. Go. I said, oh, please help me. Come with me. He said, no, you'll be safe. You just go. Me carrying my suitcase, walking about 200 yards, 300 yards to the hotel. And by this time, of course, darkness had broken out. I went to the hotel. The receptionist didn't have an electric light. He had a candle.
Candle, yeah.
Looked at me, looked at inside my stuff, and he gave me a room, and I went there. And I just had a cold shower and went to sleep.
Wow. So this was in Banjul.
Banjul, yes.
And work proper hadn't started, but you just found yourself, luck was on your side. So people, I'm speaking with Cameron Duodu, if you're listening to us on radio, a veteran journalist, and as you follow the story, you know what happened later in Banjul in the Gambia. My name is Samuel Attah-Mensah. This is Footprint. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. This is Footprints on City TV or City FM, whichever one you are listening or watching. Okay, and I'm with Cameron Duodu, and the story is getting even more exciting. So now you've entered Banjul and you've had your first encounter. You ended up in that hotel. And I need to ask you how it turned out, whether the president finally got back safely from the UK after watching the royal wedding at the time. But I still am interested in how you actually covered the removal, the Liberian event.
Yes.
How was Liberia like, or Monrovia like, at the time when you went there?
It was very, very animated.
Yeah.
There had been a hidden conflict between the native Liberians and the Americo-Liberians. And people weren't talking about it, but it was there. And don't use that, saying that the Americo-Liberians were taking all big jobs, they had privileges, they were educated, and the native Liberians were not getting a good slice of the cake.
Right.
So that was what they were using.
So Doe would be a native, if you like.
Yes, and he was absolutely popular with them because of this policy. Yes, they said.
And Tolbert to represent the Americo-Liberians.
Yes. There were some Americo-Liberians who were inclined to support
the whole uprising,
the minority, yes, because in any country where a minority is beginning to eat the fat of the land and forgetting everybody else, it brings resentment.
So when you got there, he had taken over already?
Yes.
So did you report on the executions?
Yes, I did.
You remember some of them?
One, Dennis, I think he was the foreign minister.
The foreign minister.
Yeah, I had seen
under
him.
Tolbert.
Yes. I had seen him operating on the international scene, and I was extremely shocked to see him among those that they killed.
To where? They killed them where?
Barclay Training Center.
In Monrovia. Yeah,
yes.
The beach. Yeah, I know that. I used to work in Liberia, so
that's why I mentioned the name so that you would realize where it was. It was terrible.
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
Because they were reading from Jerry Rawlins's notes. Well, it happened in Ghana a few years before, so why not?
In Liberia, yes.
And so he shot them and then started ruling.
Yes. And then it got worse and worse because, certain people, when they get power and the privilege and the money, they begin to think less of the country and more about themselves.
Yeah.
And this always creates problems. So Charles Taylor eventually launched a movement. And
Charles Taylor too is from the same stock, like native, or you're not sure?
Americo-Liberian, but he has more
roots in the
native area.
With his friend of the time, Prince Yomi Johnson.
Yes.
I mean, now these things sound like drama, but these were real issues.
Absolutely.
Very challenging moments for Africa. And anytime I think of Sergeant Doe, Idi Amin comes to mind.
Yes.
Did you have any?
No, not Idi Amin. Yeah. But I knew about him because I have Ugandan friends.
Yeah.
They were telling me about
a strange character, man.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so let's go back to Gambia. So how did you now get back into Banjul proper?
The next day I checked into a very good hotel where there were other journalists,
Okay.
so we could get information about what was happening. And within 24 hours, the Senegalese had helped the Gambian old regime to rescue Jawara's wife.
Oh, I see.
They had
So Senegalese intelligence or army
army. They brought some people there.
under Diop, Abdul Diop.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Jawara government also has the support of the British government.
Of course.
So they had sent some SAS people there to go and help.
And that's it.
Absolutely. And I was writing about this for the London Times and the
Oh,
Economist.
now, so you move from Financial Times to the London Guardian to Sunday, the Sunday Times,
The Observer.
the Observer,
Name it.
and now you're doing what?
Right now, I'm not writing
No, I
for
mean,
any.
so at this time you wrote for the Sunday Times.
And the Times, the Daily Times.
Oh, you mean the Times proper?
Yes,
Whew, the broadsheet.
yes.
No, you're a big man.
And the Economist. Well, I mean, they like good stories. And if you know how to get them good stories, they will use them.
At this time, you're writing for all the, if you like, the real press houses in the United Kingdom
Yes,
with your training in Ghana.
yes.
Not like you went to the UK and went to school or anything.
No,
All you knew from Ghana.
yes. But remember that at that time, I had already published a novel.
Yes, the Gap Boy. Is that the Gap Boys?
Yes.
Is it still in print?
No, it isn't. But it will be back soon.
Yeah, the Gap Boys. The Gap Boys.
Yes.
What was it about?
It's about a group of young people who have graduated from school, they haven't got jobs, and the society doesn't like them because they are too low, if you like.
Yeah,
They are too low. And yet, they must integrate themselves into the society somehow. It's a very long story.
Wow. These days we actually don't read. We like to be on social media, take pictures and put there. Social media and insult people.
You must read and analyze, otherwise your society will never improve.
Well, I think it's a reflection of what we have. Social media is how many years? 15 years old, but we've started seeing, the signs. Because reading is not part of the story anymore.
And thinking. Look.
You mean thinking? It's too difficult, man. Thinking has become too difficult as a chore.
Absolutely. So you write 5 lines on Facebook or Twitter.
And then do TikTok.
You take a cue from President Trump, and you think that with that type of knowledge you can. Yes, it's sad. It's sad.
So
but
now you still do some writings.
yes.
What has been the focus of the things you write?
My main objective is to relate my experiences, especially those abroad, to life in Ghana, so that we can pass on information. If you know that you have floods when it rains, why don't you do A, B, or C? Social difficulties. Every time I try to educate, inform, and also entertain. Because if you are too solemn, nobody will take you seriously. But if you can pass on the knowledge in an entertaining way, maybe you can reach more people. Right now, my biggest preoccupation is with the Galamsey issue. This is so terrible that it has made me begin to lose confidence in myself as a Ghanaian. Because when I was growing up at Esiakwa, you don't play with water. We have one river there called Twafo. And its appellation was Esuo Ketua Oyi Opebre. Small river that gets into flooding when the dry season comes. It is a paradox, and it shows you that people watch after rivers. Now that river is gone. Another big river there called Supon is gone.
Supon is gone as in given to Galamsey?
Yes.
Or they built on the riverbed? It's no more there?
It's no more there.
You mean physically when you go there, you see it?
Yeah. You can see sand. You can see the...
but that's dangerous.
It is, but that's not all. The biggest river in the area, Brem, is like...
But that's on the other side, right?
We have it there also.
In Esiakwa?
Yes.
So when you're facing Accra, it will be on the right side.
When you are facing Accra, it's on the left side. When you are facing Accra, yeah.
Okay.
Look, Bunsu, it's Brem that gave it its name. And Esiakwa is only 3 miles from Bunsu.
Bunsu, yeah.
And it's Tem and all that. You see the Brem and you can't believe it. It's like chocolate.
Yeah.
This river that used to be...
Yeah, that's progress.
Mud.
Well, that's how they see it. They say they are hustling and that they should be allowed to do it. Their daily bread. They want the daily bread
that is
with the chocolates.
Absolutely. So if you don't have money in those villages where formerly they depended on Brem and other rivers, how do you get water to drink?
But I think people still do not appreciate this, the risks involved, because if you ever lived in the village, you know what it means to contaminate the water. Now, we in the cities call them river, these are the rivers. But in the village, that's what we drink. I mean, we go there and fetch it and drink. We don't boil. I mean, this thing of boiling is something we heard when we went to school. You fetch the water, the same water that you wash inside. Then you move maybe 5 meters away where you think is clearer.
And then you wash your clothing. You can wash white things in this river.
In the water, yes. And then you fetch and drink it all, and you are happy. Nothing happens to you.
Because before it comes from the mountains, it has been filtered.
Yeah.
It's the best water in the world. If you drink it when you are thirsty, you think it is straight from heaven. And people are using excavators to turn the river upside down. They are using mercury to wash the gold dust that they've got.
So drinking water does not exist anymore in these areas. And I can relate because I lived in the area. I lived in this Enyinem area through Pramkese to Kede. So you are seeing Bremu. I went to school in Achimoda. Brim is there. And the last time I was there, I saw the Brim. I almost wept.
My brother.
And we are superintending over this thing. And in the name of giving people jobs. I mean, you give people jobs to kill yourself. I mean, I can only talk about the eastern region, but you know about this western region, the River Cobra, and all these.
Ashanti, Tano, and so on. You can't believe it. And what I told you that I had begun to lose confidence in myself as a Ghanaian, because if you put water there for a dog, it will never pollute it. The dog will drink the water and be safe. Same with horses. If you go to a stable, they have water for the horse and it's clean. And human beings are for asante for the near tia. Na ukofa excavator their core. It's so nipa no. I could gold. Does that make sense? How can we've been boasting that we Ghanaians were the first to gain independence, we helped other Africans to become independent. And now we can't even think objectively enough to know that we shouldn't be ruining our rivers, because even if we survive, our children and their children will have no water to drink.
It's gotten out of hands. I mean, the country on a suicide mission. Cameron Duodu, thank you so much. It's been an enlightening moment. But I can feel your pain because as young as we also think we are, we've been close to this and we are helpless. We are helpless, and we see it getting worse and worse. And you hear people giving big speeches and nothing happens. Well, this is where we want to draw down the curtains on this program. I've been speaking with Mr. Cameron Duodu, a veteran journalist with many years experience. And you heard for yourself. He said that he's lost confidence in himself as a Ghanaian. Of course, you didn't vote for him to become president, so he can only talk as a Ghanaian. I don't know what you will say, but as for me, I'll end the program and go my way. My name is Samuel Attah-Mensah. Thanks for watching.